Hi, my name's Will, and I'm the Campaigns and Communications Officer at Results UK. And welcome to this video where we will be discussing remittances and the role of diaspora communities in development. Today, I'm here with my colleague Aqsa Shah, the Parliamentary Advocacy Officer at Results UK, for the second interview in this 40th anniversary series. For those that don't know, 2026 marks 40 years of Results UK and its advocacy efforts to bring an end to poverty. To celebrate that, we're looking at new ways of framing development, and particularly how we can tell the story of international development better in order to re-energize public and political will around poverty eradication efforts. Over the next quarter of an hour or so, we are going to be discussing AXA's recent blog, Remittances, Development Financing Built on Belonging. This blog explores the vital role that diaspora communities play in development, both through the money sent regularly around the world in remittances, but also through fundraising in times of crisis. You can read the blog on our website and also in the link in the description below. So, to start off with, AXA, please could you introduce yourself and also explain what inspired you to write this blog?
Hi, as Will mentioned, I'm Aqsa Shah and I'm the Parliamentary Advocacy Officer for Tuberculosis at Results UK. Within that, I provide the Secretariat for the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Global Tuberculosis, which is a cross-party group of MPs and peers who are interested in eradicating the disease. The inspiration behind this blog is partly around the fact that it was almost an extension of a similar blog that I wrote last year on how under-recognised diaspora communities are in development. This piece builds on that whilst also introducing the idea that diaspora communities are practicing a relational, trust-based, and identity-driven approach to doing development, which is something that has been deeply ingrained in my understanding of how and why communities give back. Growing up as part of the Pakistani diaspora, I saw and still see this firsthand, be it through remittances, fundraising, or just informal support networks. But as I came into the development sector, I noticed that I rarely saw those contributions reflected in how development is talked about in policy spaces. So I wanted to explore that gap and make the case that diaspora communities aren't just supporting development and are instead actively shaping a different model of it.
Thanks for that, AXA. Um, so to kick off, I was wondering if you could speak about your experience of being part of the diaspora community and the role that remittances and fundraising has played in your life.
For me, this has been a part of my life from the very beginning. My parents give a lot. They're the most generous and kind people you could ever come across. But I think that they are that way because of our faith and their upbringing. As Muslims, there's a strong emphasis on charity and zakat. So giving isn't something exceptional, but rather just a part of who you are and how you move through the world. Growing up, that meant regularly sending money back home to family and friends, supporting people in moments of need, and also contributing to wider efforts like organising food parcels during Ramadan or helping families cover essential or emergency costs. It wasn't something that was ever made into a big deal, it was just something that was done consistently and quietly. And I think what I feel now, more than anything, is a real sense of pride in that. Pride in the way that my parents and so many others in diaspora communities show up for people, even when they don't necessarily have a lot themselves. I think that there's something incredibly powerful in that kind of generosity. What's especially interesting is that while this feels completely normal within those communities, it's often overlooked in how we talk about development. It can be dismissed as informal or individual, when actually it's happening at scale across communities that are connected across borders. The impact is also very tangible. So, whether that's supporting education, providing food, or helping people get through really difficult periods, it's direct, it's responsive, and it's rooted in a real understanding of what people need.
Thanks, AXA. I love this paragraph you wrote, uh, and I'm quoting here. Diaspora action is shaped by emotion as well as by identity and history. Pride, solidarity, and a sense of responsibility motivate people to contribute, mentor, and mobilize resources across borders. At the same time, feelings of guilt, worry, or helplessness about conditions back home can push communities to act, sometimes urgently. These emotional currents are deeply intertwined with family ties, shared history, and faith, creating a powerful, sustained engine for development. I think that really effectively communicates the emotional depth, I guess, that is kind of inextricable from remittances as a fundraising model. Do you think that this is something that's always missed, or often missed in kind of perceptions of remittances, and also maybe shows a road forward towards a different relationship between donor and recipient to what we see now in the development sector?
Yeah, so often remittances are reduced to numbers, just thinking about money moving from one country to another, but I think that that really does miss the heart of what they are. For many people from diasporas, sending money home is about much more than finances. It's about staying connected to family, to community, and to a place that remains a part of who you are, even if you don't live close by. Remittances are one of the ways that those bonds are kept alive. This is why remittances are so powerful and so consistent. They aren't dictated by political priorities or funding cycles, and instead are driven by people, by love, by loyalty, and by the desire to make a real, tangible difference in lives. In fact, in 2024, global remittances reached $905 billion, which was more than four times the total of official development aid, which was $214.5 billion. I think that this really puts into perspective how much diaspora communities are already delivering, often in ways that are faster, more flexible, and closer to the needs of communities than traditional aid. There's also an emotional dimension that's often overlooked. As you quoted, pride, solidarity, and a sense of responsibility motivate people to act, intertwined with family ties, shared history, and faith. At the same time, emotions like worry, guilt, or helplessness can also drive urgent action during crises. This combination of pride and concern creates a sustained engine of development that is relational, responsive, and adaptable in ways formal systems often struggle to replicate. Crucially, diaspora giving challenges traditional donor recipient dynamics. Traditional models often separate donor and recipient into distinct roles, a distant giver and a passive receiver. But diaspora giving shows that support can be deeply reciprocal, rooted in connection, understanding, and a shared responsibility. It's about knowing the people you're helping, understanding their needs, and being committed to their well-being over the long term. For me, the lesson is profound. If governments and large donors embrace this relational approach, one that values trust, shared knowledge, and emotional investment alongside financial resources, development could be more human, more responsive, and more effective. It suggests a future where financing isn't just transactional, but is guided by relationships, empathy, and a genuine understanding of what communities need to thrive.
Thanks, Aqsa. That's, yeah, just such an interesting framing. And I think that statistic around remittances totaling more than four times global ODA budgets is so interesting and speaks to the heft and capability that diaspora communities can deliver. To finish off, I'd love to talk more about your comments on development relationships. The aim of this series is to look at how we change perceptions and narratives around development and what we could be doing to improve that. So, how do you think we should change the way that remittances are viewed as a funding model? And also, what lessons could governments and big donors learn from the remittances model of development financing?
Well, I think that the first step is for governments and large donors to start recognizing remittances for what they truly are, which is a powerful, people-driven form of development. Yes, they're financial flows, but they are also rooted in relationships, trust, and a deep understanding of community needs. Diaspora communities already act on this every day, consistently and effectively, often in ways that formal systems struggle to replicate. Once this recognition happens, action should naturally follow. Governments and donors need to actively support and strengthen these networks, which could look like lowering barriers and transaction costs for remittances, creating policies that amplify the impact of community-led initiatives, and also partnering with diaspora groups to co-design projects that respond to real lived needs on the ground. It also means investing in skills and knowledge exchange, so expertise and resources flow in both directions, from diaspora to home communities and vice versa. And this is actually something that I touched upon in the previous blog I did on diasporas. Development really doesn't have to be distant or bureaucratic. When it centers on human connection, trust, and local understanding, aid can be much faster, more responsive, and more effective. Remittances show this in action. When people and communities are trusted and empowered, the results are immediate, sustainable, and deeply meaningful. I see it in families like my own, with parents who give quietly and consistently, motivated by love, belief, and dedication to others. Governments and donors need to pick up what they're putting down, supporting learning from and scaling these efforts rather than just talking about them.
What a lovely way to finish. And thank you so much, AXA, both for writing your fantastic blog, but also for sharing your experience as an agent of development financing. Once again, to read the blog, either head to the Results UK website on results.org.uk, or you can find the link in the description below. Results is a grassroots advocacy organisation, and if you'd like to learn more about using your voice to help in the fight to end poverty, head to the Become a Campaigner section on our website. And finally, do keep an eye out for more videos throughout the year as we continue this 40th anniversary series. Our first episode was with Professor Douglas Bourne from the University College London, talking about global education and the need to change the way that we teach global citizenship. So do head to our YouTube channel to watch that. But for now, thanks for watching and hopefully see you soon.